Hey, I got you on speakerphone here. We're getting ready to start the meeting shortly.
Okay, very good, thanks. Bye.
Oh, no, I don't have certain.
Yeah. I was on the phone. Yeah, we're good.
I now call to order the October 8th, 2025 meeting of the Leechburg Area School Board. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Dr. Petrie.
Here.
Mr. Fidel. Here. Mrs. Knight.
Here.
Mr. Leppish. Mr. Lovelace. Here. Mr. Maxon. Here. Mr. Paulus. Ms. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Brown. Here.
An executive session was conducted prior to the public meeting at 5:30 p.m. on October 8th, 2025 in the superintendent's office to discuss legal issues, contracts, and personnel. Do we have a student representative report? Do we have any public comment on agenda items this evening? Aaron Intermediate Unit report, Ms. Stewart.
We met on September 16th, I think it was. We're in the midst of a complete policy review. So far, 14 second readings have been approved, and we have 11 first readings and approval. And then the other, I guess this is kind of a big thing, is each member of our board and all the other Aaron District board members are going to be receiving athletic event passes good at any of our Aaron school districts, any of their events. You know, if you wanted to go to a Penns Manor football game, if they even have a team, you know, you're going to have a pass to go. It's not for musicals or things where there's reserved seats. It would just be an admission to other districts. And then we're going to start sharing in some kind of a newsletter or something, things that are going on in the different districts, because they're not having a convention anymore. Ours was so good that they just stopped having them out. Whenever we had that one last April, they're not doing the Aaron convention. They're just going to try to have districts go and see other districts if they choose to. So that's something new that should be coming up, I hope soon, before football season's over, but it would be good for basketball or any other, you know, school. I mean, that would be good for Apollo, like local ones too. It doesn't Freeport, Apollo, you know, it's not like just all Indiana County districts. That's about it. Did you hear that already?
Huh?
Did you hear of that already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lenape report, Mr. Lovelace.
Practical nursing graduation is held on October 1st. The middle school course will be held on October 20th through the 21st. And then this is something to keep, I can believe it. 94.33% of the graduates from Lenape School are employed.
That is good.
So
That's real good. Very good.
Armstrong County Tax Collection Committee report, I have none. There has been no meeting. Mr. Palace isn't here this evening, so there's no PSBA report. Dr. Vargo.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Dr. Keeler, Mrs. Tricia, Mr. Comar, they bought me a watch since I didn't realize 7 o'clock and 6 o'clock before the meeting. So they've set it to an alarm 10 minutes early, and I can't shut it off before meeting night. So I appreciate that effort there. So that's a good thing. Student reps, just to give some background, one is at a practice, another one is doing hot air balloons in New Mexico. So that's why I'm not here, but I did get a chance to meet with the young lady who was here, and she sent her apologies, and I said, that's fine, certainly go to your commitment there. So just a couple highlights from the building. Mr. Holtz, his students, they're going to be working on a project, research-based project for famous individuals during the Revolutionary War era. Ms. Jaros, she's her 8th grade ELA students. They're going to begin a pen pal project with students from Hokuson, Virginia School District. So, that'll be a nice piece to work on writing skills. Firefly testing is commenced through a number of delays from the test, or from the state, I should say. So initially these were supposed to be rolled out in September, but they kept pushing them back. So October 6th was the first of the window. So we have our students doing that. And what it is it's for tested areas. It's a little bit, the reports that are given are a little more comprehensive than CDTs. So it gives predictive scores in areas of challenge, and like where students need support, that we can modify some instruction and get some students extra help. Not only for the test, but just overall solid fundamentals of what the standards ask of us from the state. Unfortunately, because of the government shutdown, the ASVAB test has been delayed indefinitely. So typically we give this to all of our sophomores, but due to, like I said, the shutdown and the gentleman who was responsible for that, he is furloughed at this point in time. We're not going to be conducting that. We may try to do that in the springtime if time allows us. But just because you take it doesn't mean that you're going to the military or you're giving anything to the military. However, it is one of the options for the graduation pathways for the state. So there's 5 major pathways that every student in the Commonwealth has to pursue in one way, shape, or form. So if you get a certain test grade on this, or a certain score, I should say, on this, you satisfy that from the state, and then it's just a local requirements for that. So it's not a bad thing, but then obviously we do have kids who are wanting to enlist, so that's another piece that's helpful for us. Also conducted department meetings through the first couple of months with the staff, and also department head meetings where we talked about things we're going to be doing in service, program of studies, data, some budgeting pieces, just other educational topics. So those have been going well. So the branding guys, so finally I think we're kind of to the point where we're ready to kind of post it. So I just kind of wanted to pass these around. So these are just kind of the final mock-ups of what we kind of came up with as in the committee. And so there's a few other ones, but I just to kind of not belabor it with these items here. I just wanted to have you guys kind of take a look at it. And then, so these are the logos that we come up with, and then the actual guide itself, like I said, will get posted, and obviously this will be posted in color online. And so what we'll do is when this goes up, you'll have this branding piece here, but then there will be all the JPEGs of our different logos and scripts and fonts will be available for any school-affiliated organization, sports team to utilize. So, and then we'll reach out also to local T-shirt makers and print shops to say if anybody's affiliated with our organization, our school, they are to be using the approved logos and fonts for their apparel there. I think we did a great job in kind of cleaning things up, and what we decided in that committee did put a lot of time in and work. So I think that the overall product is a good thing and a nice clean look for our school moving forward, with those items. So like I said, what will happen on the district website is this PDF will be posted, and then below that will be all these different logos that you can just pull off the website and you can send to the printer, and it has the color scheme so that it's all consistent when we're doing that. I've also talked to Dr. Keeler about the possibility of trademarking these items, so that would be something he would decide and kind of work through the solicitor with that process if you choose to do so. And finally, Dr. Keeler and I, we looked at a program called Canvas. So Canvas Solutions is something that we're considering, for your consideration, I should say, that we would adopt. And Canvas is a program that's going to help with, first of all, our cyber program. So right now, our cyber program goes through Google Classroom, and it mirrors what teachers post and put things as they teach their classes throughout the day. There's positives and negatives to that. There's goods and bads. So the positives is it's our stuff. Students who are online are kind of in lockstep with what kids are, what they're getting here at school. However, there's some challenges with those things. So Google Classroom really isn't made for the pure cyber platform. Cyber operates in a little bit different pacing than what you do here at school, and that's kind of the challenge with Google Classroom. So this program allows us that we can put our stuff in and our curriculum and lessons and things like that, and it'll script it out so students can get on. It's kind of a one-stop shop. They don't have to go to multiple different Google Classrooms. They submit all through the same process. For teachers and staff, if you're looking at multiple classrooms or multiple students amongst maybe 3 or 4 different subject areas, instead of having to go to those separate ones, all the things that you have to check and grade are right there. Additionally, this program does talk to PowerSchool, so anything that you check would filter into PowerSchool as well. And on top of that, they've also worked with a number of other educational software companies that we use here, like Kahoot and some other things that seamlessly transition over, for that. So in the short term, this would be, I think, an upgrade to our cyber program. Future, long term, this could possibly help with some scheduling conflicts and scheduling challenges. So, because we're kind of short staffed and sometimes we have singletons that kids can't get into or we can't run classes, if these were to be transformed into cyber classes, that might be an option for a kid to take, like an accounting class or something like that may only have 2 kids in it that we normally wouldn't run in a brick and mortar, which would give other options for that. So those are some possibilities that we can use. The short term is, I think this is very helpful and makes us much more efficient when it comes to our cyber kids and our cyber program. Are there any questions on any of the items that I've presented here?
Can I just add on to that, for that Canvas, we worked with them. There is an item on the agenda tonight for the initial implementation as well as the first year. If we approve that, they'll open it up here in the next 30 days. We'll have it for free for the remainder of this year, and then we'll have it next year put in. The ultimate goal would be by the end of next year having cyber set up and ready to go through there, and then ultimately looking to move our entire 6 through 12 curriculum onto there. As we've talked, a lot of the book companies now are going to online resources. Most of those are adaptable to Canvas, that if you purchase it, instead of spending $30,000 on books and workbooks and all that, it would be at a lesser rate, but it would upload all into the Canvas account and run the curriculum through there. So long term, it would create that. If that is the ideal situation where we end up, that would then allow us to open our cyber academy up to outside students as well, because it would all be in there as the synchronized and asynchronized learning going through that. So I think that gives us a platform. There was a lot of communication pieces that allow options for the students as well as teachers. And for the cost moving forward after the initial part, it would be $6,500 a year. The current money that we have in there is available through the technology budget right now. We were able to purchase at the end of June. Before we rolled into this year, we saved about $24,000. We bought Chromebooks out of last year's budget before year end. So the money that was left over there, we were going to transfer over to be able to purchase this year since it wasn't budgeted. And thank you, Dr. Lorna.
Thank you.
Mr. Komar.
Good evening, everybody. So we have some events coming up at the elementary. We have on Friday, the 10th, so this Friday, we have Fire Prevention Day. So definitely thank the League Fire Company for coming in. They do a fantastic job with the kids. They do, contests to get their gear on the passes. They talk about, smoke detectors and fire safety with the kids. It's a really nice thing that they do. Tuesday the 14th, we have Picture Day. On Thursday the 23rd, we have a couple different things going on. The Elks will be coming in to do a drug awareness assembly for grades 3 through 5. We also have a member of the New Story Outreach coming to the school as well to do an activity with our kindergarten classes. 24th, we have a PBIS reward assembly. And then the 30th, of course, we're looking forward to classroom parties and our fantastic Halloween parade that everybody looks forward to. So some things going on in professional learning communities. We still have our PLC meetings, PBIS meetings, MTSS meetings, meeting from 8 to 8:30. This year I implemented data and anchor meetings. So during these meetings, we'll be aligning our tests and lesson plans to the tested anchors. Teachers are doing a deep dive into last year's scores and connecting the anchors as far as what the assigned points on the PSSAs to try to look at those correlations. As Dr. Barbe said, Firefly testing window opened on the 6th, so on Monday. We'll be completing Firefly grades 3 through 5 during the month of October, and then doing another testing window in January, and then potentially a third in late February, early March. For special education, we have 17 IEP meetings scheduled for October, 13 504 meetings, so we're doing the bulk of our 504 meetings in October. And then we have 7 students going through the MTSS process. Additionally, we got a lot going on in special ed from state level. So we're in indicator 13 training right now. So all our special ed teachers, principals, and guidance counselors are taking that class, and that's aligning our IEPs to transition standards. I'll also have the special ed plan will be due in, I think it's the end of March. We'll have to have that posted. Last time around when we did this, I did meetings in November and December, wrote the plan over Christmas break. So I had plenty of time to get that in before the deadline. If anybody wants to serve on that community, any team members, any board members, I'd love to have you. We'll probably be meeting once in November and once in December to talk about the components of that plan. Any questions for me? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barker.
Hey, good evening. From the Information Technology Department, just a few updates. We are working on, I work with our account rep for Ed Insight, which is a software that we use to track student performance, and we were able to make some modifications to get more student data in from testing in that software, and we got a training schedule so we can more accurately identify at-risk students. We are nearly completed the addition of 13 new security camera systems to our software. There were some dead zones, and that was covered by a PCT grant. There's only one camera that still need to get online, so we were happy to do that. We added a couple new door locks for our Salto Dash web system, and we're making some enhancements as we were getting better procedures for our lockdown procedures and items like that. We started the quote process for getting quotes for 15 new PCs for our AutoCAD lab. So Mr. Stitt is doing a great job at teaching students AutoCAD, but those computers are in need of an update, so we're working on that. So finally, elementary school picture days is coming up, so we make sure that the data and rosters are ready for that. So hopefully that will go off without a hitch. So
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cericio.
A handful of updates from buildings and grounds. First off, the boiler replacement project update. The boiler system is installed and it's up and running. We are currently working through troubleshooting and debugging that is typical with any startup of that kind of system. We also installed a boiler loop treatment system in the Baker building for the heating system over there, and it is also up and running. The HVAC controls company is scheduled to be on site again on Monday the 13th to continue troubleshooting and monitoring the system and working through problems as they come up. Previously, I mentioned some kitchen equipment was on order, warming ovens were delivered on September 30th, and the cooler refrigerator is scheduled for shipment October 20th. Ground-related items, the broken drain pipe at the West Leechburg baseball field was repaired on September 19th. Another subject, the railings for the bleachers at the stadium. We did secure another contractor who loaded us that job, and that PO got cut a few days ago. So we're working with him to get those things installed hopefully as soon as possible. Turf maintenance at the football field was performed on September 12th. The grooming of the field was conducted, and during that process, they did note that there were some defects in the surface of the field that needed to be repaired. Basically, what these are depressions that form over time in the base that the turf covers, and they did return to do those minor repairs. There is one depression that is larger and it's going to require a return visit, and actually that would be a supplemental book. The repairs that were done just recently were done under the original book for the maintenance. So we were waiting to hear back on that. Upcoming buildings and grounds items, we met with Flora to take an initial walk at the campus in preparation for the next phase of capital projects, and awaiting their initial feedback on that so we can start those conversations. Anything else?
Just a question on that. So there's something else that needs taken care of at the field that isn't covered in what we had?
Correct.
And is it a big thing? Like, it doesn't affect play or anything, does it?
No, it does not. Where it is, Candy, is on the it's on our home sideline, 40-yard line to the left if you're in the stands looking. It's a large depression that formed, but it's in the blue section. It's actually on the sideline.
So what would
It's not-
form that?
it's not in the field.
Would like misuse by people that go on the field that shouldn't? Because that happens a lot.
Potentially, but I believe the way it was described to me is these defects are more either just a soft spot in the base layer that was initially put down, which was 4 or 5 years ago, or if you would have repetitive impacts in the same place. In other words, come up with an if you would take a marching band, in the same spot each and every time, you'll push that base, it'll start to form underneath.
So really, you will never know what caused it then. It could have
Mr.
been.
Cercio, just to add to that, it very well could have been where the kids come off the field. It's right where the team stands out on that part.
Okay.
And the part that he did add too on that is that we were looking to possibly buy the machine they brought out with that. That was the first time. So had we done that every year, it might have kept that from happening, dragging it. But we're going to look to see cost-wise. I think we could purchase one ourselves in next year's budget that we could drag it once a month and it would take care of that. But you don't know if it dropped but it's right where the kids come off at. So very easily could be them running, they get off the sideline, stopping and just slowly moving that in that area.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
just
that
curious.
sounds like a nice traffic use
Yeah.
spot.
Sorry about that, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Thank you both. Okay, thanks.
I saw it's just like a little lead.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy showed the look down. Yeah. And he said, you got it.
Okay.
But if you didn't point it out to you.
You would know. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chakla.
Good evening, everyone. So you can see on the screens, we're launching a financial dashboard from the business office. It's more visually pleasing rather than looking at pro software sorts that to a lot of people it's just a bunch of gibberish. So breakdown of business office through the month of September. General fund cash for September is up $300,000 from last month, which is a good sign as the district closely monitors our cash flow without the state subsidy. Compared to September 2024, cash is down about 1.3 million due to those missing subsidy payments. As you can see on the dashboard, the upper left corner shows the prior month's reconciliations from year to year and what variances. And you can see below that, it's just a chart that shows our general fund cash flow through the times. Moving on, real estate collections through the end of September currently total $2.4 million, which is up $734,000 from last year's collection to this point, which is a good sign. At the end of September, we collected 48.72% of our budgeted amount of $4,945,300. So we're pacing well, tax collectors are doing what they need to be doing, and our taxpayers are taking care of their real estate bills early during discount period. So also available within the dashboard, we're just going to get to this next page here. You can see our expenditures as well. So revenues are on the first page, our fund balance from the past 2 years on the first page. So into page 2, we're tracking expenditures more closely. So on here, you can see upper left, it itemizes our expenditures by the function. So 1,000 through 5,000, just a good way to show what's going from instructional support services, non-instructional facilities, and our debt service payments. As well as the second page, you'll see I go into a little more depth on the objects of tuition, transportation, technology, and a hot topic in Leechburg, our medical costs. So as you can see, tuition, we haven't paid anything yet since we were holding this cyber charter payment so far. Transportation, minimal start to school year so far. Technology, just the usual startups for the school year, and medical, we're just going to track as we go through the school year. In the bottom left, you can see our current capital project, which Mr. Cericio was referring to, our boiler HVAC project with the floor, just showing current payments and what's still due for those. Our agenda items for board approval tonight, we have a 5-year agreement with OZ Enterprises for building automation system software for a cost of $1,900. Breakpoint Resources for behavioral specialist agreement, and that will be paid out of the PCCD funds. Dr. Keeler did a great job opening up the current grant that was written years ago to get them to make an amendment to the grant so that we could extend the services for behavioral support. We also have a 3-year agreement with Huddle for the athletic departments at a yearly cost of $9,200. Also going on in the business office, we have our audit scheduled for next Wednesday for the 24-25 fiscal year. Attorney's office will be on site for that, so hopefully all goes well and we have a good report in the months that follow. Any questions on anything I covered so far before going into our real estate presentation for tonight?
Thank you. I just add to the board that PCCD grant, it was written in 22-23. It was broken for mental health and physical security on that part. We used it up, but the long story short was it took time for them to approve the grant. When it was written, say it was due October 1st, they put October 1st as the start date. They didn't approve it till December, so we had 2 months of salaries that were sitting there. And then by the time you hired someone, it might have been 3 months. So that going back and forth on their money built up, but you couldn't move it into a different piece of that. So we were able to balance it out. We still have about $48,000 left. So we're going to look at using behavioral support and anything else we need. And I did send an amendment to use it, have it extended till June 30th of 2026. That will close all of our PCCD grants out. The other ones we have for physical security with the new metal detectors, the door handles, and that were all down. That was the only one that was drug out through that piece of it. We closed another one out on there. And hopefully if we ever get a state budget, and I'll do that in my update, there may be some more PCCD money available coming up. We didn't get any this current year with that, but that's why it extended out. It's hard to spend because they have you handcuffed on what you can spend it on, but there was time that was in flux that it wasn't approved of why that money's sitting there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for that follow-up on PCCD. Okay, moving into our next presentation for the night. First, I just want to thank and give gratitude to the school board as well as Dr. Keebler for the initiative that they've had so far with STEB and real estate taxes within this district. I knew coming in May it was a top priority to help jump in on the issue and see how we can resolve it. And I believe we reached that goal, and we're going to get through it tonight. Starting off, I think it's important for everybody to acknowledge the assessment differences between our two counties of Westmoreland and Armstrong County. Westmoreland County assesses properties at 100%, whereas Armstrong's at 50%. Simple market value times common level ratio equals our Westmoreland assessed value. And the common level ratio was 8.88% for 25-26. Those are set by STEB every single year. That's not a factor of ours, it's STEB. Going into Armstrong, market value times common level ratio equals pre-assessed value times the predetermined ratio of 50% equals your Armstrong assessed value. And their common level ratio is 30.56%. So diving into a 2025 tax bill with the A1 method that we board approved in June. That's our millages at 158.91 and 69.65 for Armstrong. So below, you can just see the breakdown of that formula that was on the previous slide. So we did just a sample of $100,000 market value homes. You factor in common level ratios, Armstrong pre-assessed times predetermined ratio is an assessed value of $15,280 times your millage is your tax bill right here. Whereas Westmoreland, market value times common level is your assessed value times the millage is your tax bill of $1,411.12. Unfortunately, there's a difference. And why that happens within the A1 method is it uses the county supplied assessed values as it is. So Armstrong's tax base is heavily understated compared to Westmoreland's. In the result, as you saw on the last slide, residents in Armstrong pay a much lower effective tax rate on the same property market value.
Jake, could you go back one slide?
Here.
Right here, yeah. And I just can't see, are you saying on the same property, am I correct, $346.87 is your difference? That's what we're looking at? That's the number we kept seeing?
So it's fluctuated through the years due to common level ratios. So I went the whole way back to 17-18 school year, doing a $100,000 market value with the common level ratios that were applied for that year, just to factor everything out. So it fluctuates due to common level ratios. Like I said, that's set by STEB. So I'm not too sure what factors go into that.
But on a similar property, I remember when I was examining these closely, like we kept seeing a disparity of about $350 between the two counties. Okay.
So the goal, for me, I think for the Leechburg School District, the school board, it's for Leechburg area school district properties with relative market values in Armstrong and Westmoreland County to be taxed at the appropriate rates while maintaining proper real estate revenue income to the district. How do we achieve this? I know there's been a lot of avenues traveled down, roadblocks hit, but there's been a lot of foundation laid when that was happening through your years of doing this. So diving in further, I explored the A2 method as well as the A3. A2 is the route of best practice for us. So there is a manual for business managers pretty much in districts. It's the CFIRS PE manual that the state puts together. While reading through this, the highlighted portion here, school districts choosing method A2 must first calculate correct county assessed values pursuant to the detailed instructions provided in section 672.1 A2 of the school code. This is extremely important because the general fund budget software will assume proper assessed value has been entered, and the text takes you to the school code. So from reviewing the years' experiences of A2, and I did it myself too, when I first started. I was just plugging assessed values given by the county, not factoring in or assessing differently between each county. So when I read that, I said, okay, let's go to the school code and see, what does this tell me? So the school code here, as you can see at the top, this is 2 for A2 method, and highlighted is A2 section 3 of it. At the option of the school district, where there are 2 or more ratios of assessed value to market value, the school directors of that school district shall select the lowest of the ratios for a uniform assessed value to market value throughout the school district. So that was kind of eye-opening to me once we figured that out. So for market value and uniform assessed value for Armstrong County has provided assessed value for this past school year is below. So the way we saw earlier how market value is calculated to assessed value, simple mathematics going backwards. So we take that total assessed value, divide by the common level ratio and predetermine to get market value. So with that 420, we take that times Westmoreland's common level ratio. So with that, we have an equalized assessed value. From there, I plug that equalized assessed value in for Armstrong to PDE's general fund budget in the 25-26 sandbox, which is for you to build your templates and whatnot. So I went back. What would have happened if we did it for this year? So for our approximate tax revenue from real estate taxes, that number, $4,945,870, stayed the same. That's what we plugged. Homestead stayed the same. Only difference is we plug into A2, plug the different assessed value. We get the same millage rate, and our real estate revenue generated by mills of $4,945,743. So previously, when you saw the same millage rate, everybody kind of knew, well, we can't bill you with the same millage because you're being assessed differently. So Armstrong's would have been a lot higher, or Westmoreland's would have been too low. So moving forward, comparing A1 and A2 for our revenue versus assessed values here. So the top is A1. This is what we did this for this school year. Our assessed values for each municipality versus A2. So within Gilpin and Leechburg Borough, you can see the new assessed values that are generated. So there's only a $443 difference within the collection of the budget. And a rule of thumb that PDE told us as well, that I think it's important to a drop in total assessed value, will see an increase in millage. So it's not that your tax bill is going to be higher because your millage is higher. Your assessed value is going to be different, which is going to be lower, causing your millage to be at a higher rate. It's important to highlight the historical real estate millages through the years. As you can see, the highest for Armstrong during the A1 method was in 17-18 at 77.48 mils, and Westmoreland at 129.7, where they've gone to 158.91 and 69.68. So moving through here, I just want to show 17-18, as I said, I went back to how I think it's important to highlight here for both counties as a whole, how the assessed values have declined on a sample of $100,000 market value property due to common level ratio, due to certain factors through step. So I believe it was 17-18 was the last year we had a tax rate. So obviously revenues dropping for real estate for the district due to all this happening, which also leads to the millage rising. So assessments are coming down, those are going up. And I think this is just important for that to be highlighted here. So within A2, you'll see market values and assessed values are going to be calculated the same to get an equal tax bill, which is the common goal. So the district's responsibilities, the school board authorizes the use of CFR's A2 method. The district will obtain the market values and assessed values for each taxable parcel from the counties. So we'll go to the county assessment offices, we'll get those for each taxable parcel. We will calculate it as needed. So your county assessment for Armstrong will be different than your school assessment due to the A2 method and what will be calculated. Those will then be provided back to the counties. So the district will follow statute 672.1 under 823 to achieve a uniform assessed value for each county. The district will then, as I stated, will supply Armstrong County with the district's uniform assessed values and millage for each parcel. And I think it's important to highlight too, Dr. Keebler and I, we had a very productive call with Ben Aft, the Executive Director of Finance at PE, while going through this process. I thought I had it figured out previously, but we had a very productive call with him to say, hey, that way is not attainable, but if you do it this way, as I've just presented, that's what your goal is. That's what you can do as a district and under the statute. That's what we're going to follow. I know I just had a lot thrown at all of you. So does anybody have any questions from this?
No, it just looks fantastic. I mean, thank you. It's, you know, it's going to get us where we need to be.
You shade the bridge. Thank you very much.
Jake,
I'd
thank
like to thank you, Jake, for everything you've done on that process. Coming in late to the game and learning quickly on that, to be able to put that together. When he came to me and said, hey, here's where it's at, we talked with Ben, went through, he adjusted a couple pieces to get the end result, but Ben basically said the language, and that's why I have a business manager, I'm not the financial guy of that, but listening to the language, Ben said that's exactly why you have a A2 option there. That was on the big piece that was missing over all the years that I've been here, and I've been here for, we're going to be 10 years here next month. We never changed off of that and did any of those pre-calculations to balance the market values on that. We put it into the GFB and it just, or for the general fund balance on it, it kicked numbers out and we threw it out because we said that didn't work with that. Talking with him as well as talking with Armstrong County tax collector, they said absolutely the school tax can be a different assessment to balance that out. So thank you, Jake.
Jake, this is incredible. Thank you. Mrs. Mondo.
Good evening and happy October. Second grade is getting shoe tying lessons from our OT, Dr. Ann Romanu, and once they learn to tie their shoes, they're going to get to decorate and put a shoe on the shoe tying club poster in the hallway. And each student will also receive a pair of laces for their accomplishment. The third graders are taking their annual field trip to the Outdoor Discovery Center at Crooked Creek on the 28th. They'll get to explore various nature topics in a full hands-on manner. They're going to take a hike, learn about local plants, dissect owl pellets, which is really gross to me, so I teach English. They're going to learn more about the owl's diets, complete various pumpkin activities, and create a nature craft. Elementary hallways are filling up with artwork. The fifth grade artists learned about famous artists, and they were inspired by what they discovered. So the students got to select their own medium and design imaginative pumpkins. Some recreated iconic masterpieces, others went in a whole new direction and gave a twist to what they picked. So if you have a chance, take a stroll through the elementary hallways to check out what Ms. Patrick and the art students are posting. Ms. Ondish and the kindergarten and first graders have been practicing their singing voice, high versus low sounds, loud versus soft, and various tunes and chants. And the second and third graders are exploring new rhythms and instruments in the music classroom. A small group of students will be participating in the Dream It, Believe It, Achieve It IUP program, with OBR. So students will get a chance to tour the campus, have a chance to talk with current students who are utilizing services for students with disabilities at the collegiate level. My Honors 12 students recently wrapped up their fallacy unit, so now they're aware of tricks that advertisers and politicians like to play with us. And I just thought it was important to mention that a recent graduate reached out to me shortly after the semester started to say that fallacies popped up in one of her college classes, and she felt really confident about what she was doing, and nobody else had a clue, so kudos to us. The Middle School Student Council is working to organize Red Ribbon Week activities, and they are also hoping to plan a dance for the middle schoolers sometime in December. Our PATH program is currently delivering 115 bags per week. Thanks to Ms. Ferretti and Mrs. Vigna and all of their hard work, they received a grant from the Armstrong County Community Foundation, and they will be presented that will be at an awards dinner. And Ms. Ferretti and Mrs. Vigna are going to go and accept. Students are also helping to carry out bags for the Leesburg Food Bank each month. The students help load groceries into cars, into grocery carts for those who are in need of that. The marching band is preparing for their final festival of the student season, which will be on October 15th at Armstrong Junior Senior High School, and they're getting ready to perform at the Halloween parade on the 30th. Ms. Greenback in the guidance office is planning Lenape field trips for interested students. Today, several students took SATs in school to help them prepare for their next steps, and then we're also offering PSAT in-school testing on the 16th. On the 22nd, we're having a choice assembly, which is dealing with vaping and e-cigarettes and making good, healthy choices for grades 6 through 12 that correlates with Red Ribbon Week. And I also want to congratulate Chloe Zemansky, who was crowned this year's homecoming queen Friday night. I also want to take a point of personal privilege to say thank you to everybody who helped with homecoming, the administration, the other teachers, staff, the marching band, custodians, the mayor. It's a lot of moving parts to get homecoming all squared away, and really went off without a hitch this year, so great job for all of us. Any questions?
A very nice job on homecoming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have personnel, these are discussion items. Personnel item 7.1, amendment to the business manager contract. We can discuss this further if needed, but we discussed it. Is there any, we can't really discuss more. The 25-26 athletic supplementals. 25-26 non-athletic supplementals. Any discussion needed on 7.4, 7.5? Any discussion on any of the financial reports under 8.1? Any discussion on budget and finance items 8.2 through 8.4? Questions? Do we have any questions or discussions on the field trip request, item 9.1 through 9.9? Any discussion or questions on items 10.1 through 10.7? These are all the facilities use requests. Do we have any questions about any of those things? Any questions on any fundraising requests? Mariana's Hoagies, Powder Puff football game, anything? Any questions on the upcoming professional development request? That would be items 12.1 through 12.6.
I just add the 12.6 for the new superintendent's academy. That was paid for last year. I attended the first week. The second meeting ended up on a board meeting again. And we had stuff going on in January, so I worked with PASA, and they said that we could come. There were two of us that were going to jump into this year's for the second and third. So it'd be in January or in November and January. to finish that new superintendent's academy. But it was already paid for and approved last year for that part of it. But just wanted to give the board an update that it would be followed through this year to finish it up.
Any questions on the legislative issues? This is 13.1, the non-school sponsored student groups, or the reintegration incentive for returning cyber charter students. Any questions or discussion on that?
Did you want to add anything about
Yeah, I
that?
can, just for the public on it, we do have a retention policy that was created for first reading. Just an update of part of it as we went through this school year. Currently, we have 48 students who are in cyber charter schools. 36 of them are regular ed students at $17,000 a piece. 12 of them special ed at $30,873,000 for a total of $984,000 on our current budget. We've went to the state multiple times for cyber reform, which has been refused. We had heard in the current budget that they're working on, they wanted to put a flat rate on it. I'll jump ahead to part of my update from today. We had Sherry Smith, the executive director of PASA, there with it. It looks like in the current conversations, which are currently at the House, I heard today the House may punt something back to the Senate because the Senate hasn't moved forward with it yet. But looking for the fact that they may do away with that. There's a couple of the senators that don't want it as a flat rate. So they're looking at line items in the 363s to try to lower what the cyber schools can count as expenditures for school districts. For example, the buildings and stuff like that. So that's the new plan. If they're looking to try to lower them, but it would still be indifferent across the school district. Still not going to help us with that going across the board. I do want to note that on January 1st, we were roughly at 27 students, I believe, in cyber. We've added almost 20 more kids this school year with it. But the bigger red flag that's coming up of why I created this is about 20 of them have never stepped in our school district. They've moved in to Leechburg already in a cyber charter academy. They've never come to our halls. They don't know me. They don't know the principal. They don't know the teacher. They don't know anybody, but we get the bill. And I'll go on record. We got a bill a couple weeks ago for a student that I found out has been living here for 4 years. We just got the bill. So thankful for the other district that paid that bill for the last 3.5 years. But it goes back to what the broken system is right now of cyber charters. They go back and forth on that. So what I put together of trying to look at, can we do some type of an incentive? When you look at the cyber charter schools, they're giving gift cards away. They're doing all these different processes to try to get you enticed into coming to them. So as a fiscal responsibility to the district, when we look at close to $1 million of our budget, I would like to go back and offer these students $2,000 to come back to our district. It would be paid in $500 quarterly, so they'd have to be here. And we did put some stipulations in here that they would have to be enrolled for a year before they would be eligible. So we wouldn't have kids jumping into cyber and thinking they could come back to cash in on that. I do feel for our community members who are not in this on that, and they're not getting the money on it. But when we look at the true savings, if we're able to bring 10 kids back on the $2,000, spent $20,000, let's say 8 of them are regular ed, 2 of them are special ed, we'd have $198,000 savings. Take that $20,000 off, we have a net savings of $178,000. So trying to be creative with this. We're still working through the legal ramifications of what's on there with it. Looking at it, we don't see anything that says you can or cannot. There are some schools out in Johnstown that have already started this and are making payments with that. So we're continuing as we go through here. Hopefully next month we'll have another update on this process. My hope is that we get to the second reading next month, get this passed in December as long as everything works out, and we can look to try to get some of these kids back for the second semester of this school year. Any questions on any of that? Thank you.
Any questions on the work release under curriculum or the Canvas quote? Superintendent's report.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to start off just by thanking everybody. As we saw the admin team of seeing what's going on here, it can't be done without them, but it's just not there. Ms. Mondell, with your update of what's going on in the classroom, but it starts with our custodians, our secretaries, our cafeteria, everybody that works within the system. I mean, we're moving along and getting things moving where they need to be, and it can't be done without each of those individuals. All of our different committees that we have and going along with that. So I want to thank everybody for their. I want to just give Mr. Chappell a second thank you for the work on that step piece, and a big piece of where the broken system has been, as you heard him say in his report, we haven't raised local revenue through a tax increase here since 17-18. Anybody that saw the budget for the current year, the healthcare alone went up $450,000. We could raise it to the index and still not be able to raise that much income through there, but we have to start planning ahead. We have building issues that need to be updated. There is no way we can continue as a district without being able to put some sort of type of a tax increase into the budget as we go through. And the way things were being disparate and dropping in one and going the other, there's no way to add more on to someone that's already on there. So that was the key of why we needed to solve that going through. So I thank you for that. Tomorrow I have a meeting, our monthly Lenape meeting. I will be joined by the 3 Armstrong County commissioners. So we'll continue to have talks on some of the ways that we can push for some development in this community, as well as what increases we need or what they can do to try to help us with that. I have met with them as we were going through the assessment data with that, trying to get help from them of finding out what we can do with that. So I'll bring an update next month and update the board at the end of the week of how those conversations go. Today we had our monthly superintendent meeting, and as I said, we were joined by Dr. Sherry Smith, the executive director. Going on top of that cyber charter, we just talked a little bit about budget. Budget's not going to be looking like we're going to get a great increase with it. Some of the increases they are looking, and these are all proposals because we still don't have a state budget, I think, but they were looking at $75 million for basic ed funding, which is the lowest in 10 years, as well as they see that special ed increases going up $350 million, but they're only looking to add $40 million on it. So that's a concern of what they're putting in for education, but I think we need to be creative in what we're doing here on our spending and go back with that. Another part of that, they said that it was going to be a part of this, is 97% of any increases coming to districts, they're going to use the lawsuit that was charged with inadequate funding for public schools. And as you know, last year we got equity money that we tried to balance out, and we put that in West Leesburg. We should have that this year, so if we have equal millage, it will go to all of our residents with that. But the concerning factor for me is that we're not getting any adequacy money. And it seems to be the common thing with all small rural schools, because what they're looking at, they said the common spending should be $14,120 per student. Unfortunately, when you have a population of 2, 3, 4, 5,000 kids, those one positions get divided amongst all of them, so your costs are coming down as you go through that spending. Our costs are all obviously higher being a small district when we have one of certain things that have to be divided amongst that. But they're saying the 368 schools that receive that advocacy money, and I know some local schools around here that have a lot more new development going on, a lot more things that are looking on the up and up, got hundreds of thousands of dollars part of that, and it's looking like that's going to be continued year after year while we're left out. So talking with Dr. Smith, we are planning, and I'll be up there in November for our new superintendent's academy. I asked her, any way we can be part of a pilot of working with our legislators, but really looking at how that formula is going to either need redone or reapproaching that part, because it's going to put small schools out of business if they continue to put the money towards the more affluent ones because of that spending part of it. So what sounded great on paper when they developed that, they're finding some loopholes now. They've acknowledged that it's just going to be, how do we get back to that? So, the starting point is getting the state budget before we can move forward with that. There was no PCCD money released last year, saying that there was no talk of it coming out. So we'll see once that comes through. Will we get any facility money that was going? Everybody can recall the last time they released facility money, there was no school districts in Armstrong or Indiana County that received any funding. Both CTCs got the funding with that, and that was on purpose on there. So I'm hoping that if it would open up again and a new budget will go there, hopefully they can get that through sooner rather than later. The other part of that was talking with special ed costs, where we said they went up $350 million and they were only looking through it. And it was an interesting conversation Dr. Smith shared with us of why special ed costs are getting where they're at right now. and the conversation went that, it's very easy for a family to sue a school district saying they're not getting what they need because there's no cost. The state's picking up that bill and it's holding school districts accountable for that. So if that goes on, she felt that a lot of times they're going above and beyond what would be required for those kids, which increase that special ed cost out of the fear of what will happen if someone just randomly files a lawsuit and we have to pay for it on there. So part of their legislation that she was working with the state was saying that if a family sued a school district and lost, they would be accountable for that money versus the state. So she's just putting it through to the state saying that may cut down a lot of those pieces that are coming after schools, whether it has any teeth with the legislators as they move forward with it. But I thought that was interesting because it really shows how much extra costs that are going in there as we go through that process. Today, after our superintendent's meeting, we were able to meet with the trust for Aaron IU. They manage our healthcare part of that. I think it became very evident to our district, working with our association, of some of those costs that were just, absorbent of what we can do. So we started asking some questions, and it actually opened up the door to the whole trust of getting some of those same questions. So we're still working with Rashini, trying to find some options, but we will continue. We were thankful as we got a new contract with our association. They were open to having that conversation of what's out there, how can we survive as a district, because if we continued down the path we were going, the healthcare loan would have ran us under. So I appreciate that. I think we're able to start getting some information to have some conversations that we can start going back and forth. And I think it opened up the conversation with a lot of other school districts that are in the same situation as us. So I was happy to hear that and we'll continue to go through with that. I appreciate the members who were here for the tour last week. I think that'll help as we met with McClure. Hopefully by next month, we will have a plan of what that looks like. I'll have McClure come to the meeting. They'll be running through, but the prime areas of concern right now for the district, we have 4 or 5 roofs that are well beyond their years on that. They will need replaced. We still have some window issues that, if you think back when we did the other windows, we did all the first floor windows in the whole district, but we didn't do anything on second, third floor, anywhere else on that part of it. So that would be part of the project. We have the exterior of the building. If you look, there's some pieces falling apart that are going to need addressed with that. We have the bathrooms, which I think could be in much better shape on those pieces, as well as the auditorium. So we'll be putting that plan together. Ultimately, it's looking at the big picture of here's everything we feel that needs addressed on that part of it. And then once we have that, the board will be able to have a discussion. We'll be able to have Mr. Chaplin go looking at bonds. In order to do some of this work, it's going to have to be money that were borrowed, looking at our debt services on that, and really coming up with a plan of what does the future of the district look like. What can we afford? How do we pay for it on there? And what are the priorities over the time of what we need to do here? So that'll be the next few steps. Also this week, we were able to submit our FERs for all of our federal programs from last year. So that's done and updated. That'll be ready for our auditors to go over. All the PCCD grants were closed except for the one we talked about. And we have some money left for the mental health side of that. We'll continue to work. We had an agreement tonight to be approved for Great Point Resource, and I'm sure we'll have another one as we look at where we're at come mid-year to be able to use those funds going on that. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions on anything? Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on the bus schedule changes or the volunteer list? Public comment on non-agenda items. We have Chuck Pascal.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. So I'm glad that we've gotten around to looking at A2 as an alternative with regard to addressing the STEM problem. Of course, when we first started discussing this again a year and a half ago or so, we all recognized the problem was the spikes that were happening in West Leechburg, mainly due to the constant change in common level ratios, mainly due to the county commissioners in both counties not doing their job of doing a reassessment. Now, so when you have one millage rate, obviously you're not going to have spikes in one area as opposed to another. So we always believe that A2 or some version of A2 would be the right answer or an answer until the commissioners do their jobs. Now, I figured out that you're using, correct me if I'm wrong here, A23. Okay. So my only, and I'm glad kind of we're discussing this in October because this won't take effect until next year. We have some time to discuss. But I'm kind of curious as to why we didn't also look and run calculations with regard to A21 and A22. And I'll say why. As was indicated, the common level ratio in Armstrong County is 30.56. That's the common level ratio for the entire county. We, as you know, have 2 municipalities in this county. Common level ratios for the 2 municipalities in this county, Gilpin is 35.31 and Leechburg is 44.62. Under 672.1821, you would run the calculations with those numbers, not the countywide 30.56. Under A22, you would do the aggregate of those two numbers, which would be 38.26. Now, the difference is that if you assume a $30,560 assessment is worth $100,000, but in reality in Leechburg, it's a $44,620 assessment that's worth $100,000. You have a variance there that tends to overstate, it's not the right word, increase the values more than they should be based on the actual common level ratio for the municipality. So I'm just asking you to look at it. I'm not being critical, I'm trying to be constructive. I'm asking you to look at it in terms of calculating it that way, either the aggregate or each municipality, because I think you'll see a disparity as to what the effect of that is. And we all want to be as fair as possible, I think, and using the common level ratio for the entire county when it's not really reflective of the 2 municipalities we have, I think we can have some discussion around that. The other thing is, doing it this way seems to be, basically what we're doing is we're converting the Armstrong County assessments to the Westmoreland method, the Westmoreland assessments. We're converting them to be equal. We have to either convert them to be equal to the Armstrong assessments or to the Westmoreland assessments in order to have a flat rate that we have equal millage. And of course, the Westmoreland assessments are the most inaccurate, but it has another effect, which I think is unintended. You know that when people see charts in paper, and when people are looking to buy property, they'll look at millage rates. Now, all of us would understand that comparing the millage rates are not really comparing apples to apples. However, somebody looking at a chart to buy property, looking at the millage rates, is going to see that Armstrong has a millage rate of around 60, Apollo Ridge is about 64, and we're at about 128 under this proposal. And it's going to have the unintended effect of suppressing our real estate market. It doesn't mean our taxes are any higher, but psychological. So I'm asking you to look at that. If we could possibly do it in such a fashion that our millage rate doesn't look so out of whack with everybody else, or equalize them toward the Armstrong side so that we're at least comparing apples to apples in this county. Those are my comments. I look forward, and I'm willing to work with anybody look forward to having these discussions over the next several months as the board continues to consider this. But I thank you for doing it.
How do I do it? There's a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:25. Now called to order the Wednesday, October 8th, 2025 voting meeting of the regular board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Call to order, or roll call, please.
Dr. Kruger.
Here.
Mr. Fidel. Here. Mrs. Knight.
Here.
Mr. Lovelace.
Here.
Mr. Maxon.
Here.
Mr. Paul. Ms. Stewart.
Here.
And Mr. Talman.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have any comment on agenda items this evening? Can we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 2025?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the amendment to the business manager contract pending approval of the state budget as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I suggested that we table it until the budget was put through.
Okay. Why don't we do a roll call on this?
Mr. Maxon.
Yes.
Mr. Paul. Absent. Ms. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Talman.
Yes.
Mr. Fidel.
Yes.
Mrs. Knight.
No,
Mr. Lovelace. Absent. Mr. Lovelace.
Yes.
Dr. Kruger.
Yes. Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the following 25-26 athletic supplementals as submitted pending successful completion of all required paperwork and clearances. Tony Samansky, varsity boys basketball assistant, paid. Dan Lukabot, varsity girls basketball assistant, paid. Ernie Cipollino, 7th grade boys basketball coach, paid. Tom McDermott, 8th grade boys basketball coach, paid. Caleb Orendi, varsity boys basketball assistant, volunteer. Greg Metbico, varsity boys basketball assistant, volunteer. Connor McDermott, varsity boys basketball assistant, volunteer. Keith Scheimer, varsity baseball head coach. Michael McKee, varsity track and field head coach. Morgan Pierce, varsity softball head coach. Eve Hebrank, 7th and 8th grade volleyball coach. Kristen Krivak, game day worker. Neva Vargo, game day worker.
Motion.
second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the 25-26 non-athletic supplementals as submitted, pending successful completion of all required paperwork and clearances. Mary Deemer, elementary detention monitor. Julie Julius, elementary detention monitor. Anastasia Rekich, elementary detention monitor.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the MOU between the Leechburg Area School District and the Leechburg ESPA for the HR supplemental position. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to hire Vanessa Walters to the HR supplemental position for Power Schools Talent Ed implementation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve receipt of the following financial reports and to ratify the expenditures expressly set forth therein. Cash receipts, profit and loss statement, food service expenditures, food service revenue, general fund expenditure, general fund revenue, 5-year real estate revenue, general fund balance report, student activity report, cash receipts list, treasurer's report, check detail reports, financial dashboard. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion is needed to approve the 5-year agreement with OZ Enterprises for facility building automation system at the cost of $1,900 as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the 25-26 grade point resources behavior specialist agreement as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Who would be supervising them?
It will be with Mr. Komar, but they will be filling in since the one we used before was focused on the one classroom on it. This will be for the whole district to help out with any behavior plans or anything like that.
So would
It would be under Mr. Komar, and then when Dr. Chalecki comes back, be working with the two of them.
So they'll have places that they'll be told to go.
Yes, it'll be
and do.
working like when we go through, for example, MTSS on there, or the guidance counselor at the high school in there. If a kid needs a behavior plan or something put in, it would be working directly in those meetings with that, in the SAP meetings at the high school.
And there should be enough to keep them fully occupied.
This isn't for full, they come just. to
Well, right,
fill
they're
in
just
those-
in, but still,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, it would be just enough to fill in the other time that we need on that. And then as we go through, like I said, when we get to January, we'll see where we're at, what we're doing. Do we need them full time? Do we need to continue it on that?
And I understand it's from the grant, but still, we don't need anybody around if they're not.
Yeah, no, and I'll
helping.
go back to where, the option we had with this, we had money, we did have a social worker last year. It wasn't a social worker, it was for- so we felt that this was better use of the money for our students versus having what we had in there. It wasn't a true social worker through a certified one, it was through, so we felt this was a better option
Okay,
with
all
that money.
right, thank you.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the HUDL renewal agreement.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to combine and approve field trip requests 6.1 through 6.9 as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dr. Keeler, I have a question.
Yes.
What is the ZAMPS Brew Through Interact?
So what they're doing, they're taking the students up to the beer distributor on there,
Sure.
and they're putting warning labels on for young kids that you can't drink alcohol.
Oh, okay,
So
so
yeah, it was.
What
it was
grade?
conservative. You want to add to it?
what grade are they?
Freddie?
I'm just curious, what grade?
I was trying to see. Miss Freddie, you want to add anything to it?
It would be through the Drug and Alcohol Commission
Sure.
and our staff program. They put it out there, and it would be done in conjunction, there'll be local law enforcement. So they asked, I said, hey, this would be cool, something the Interact Clubs to do, and they said, if you can make kids, we'll identify a local sites. They identified ZAMP. So once it gets approved, we'll coordinate the schedule with myself and the Interact Club, representation from the Armstrong Indiana Drug and Alcohol Commission, and the local police force to go up there, and they're just stickers that you're putting on it that warns about, hey, the dangers and the implications of purchasing alcohol from minors.
Sure.
Thank you.
Didn't make you wonder, Deborah.
A motion is needed to combine and approve use of facilities 7.1 through 7.7 as submitted.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to combine and approve fundraising requests 8.1 and 8.2 as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to combine and approve professional development requests 9.1 through 9.13 as submitted.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the second reading to policy 122.1 non-school sponsored student groups as submitted.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the first reading of policy 140.2 reintegration incentive for returning cyber charter students as submitted.
So moved.
Discussion.
I hope it works. That would be nice.
I think we'll have more
Definitely.
information as we go through the next month and a half on that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion is needed to approve the 26-27 Infrastructure Inc. Canvas quote as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the bus schedule changes as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion is needed to approve the 25-26 volunteer list as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just want to thank Vanessa. I know that's a big
There's a lot of
ordeal.
names on that.
Yeah, a lot of clearances came out there in the last few weeks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public comment? I'd like to read something about STEB quickly, and then we can adjourn. Local revenue makes up 62% of our district's operating budget, and I have spent extensive time studying our collection rates and the impact of unpaid taxes. When individuals neglect their property tax obligations, the cost does not disappear. It falls squarely on the shoulders of their neighbors, the very taxpayers who meet their responsibilities in good faith. This is not just a financial issue, it is an issue of fairness, integrity, and community trust. For years, inequitable taxation, particularly in West Leechburg, strained both our residents and our schools. When I joined this board and learned about the State Tax Equalization Board, STEB issue, I made a commitment to find a fair and permanent solution. And that's exactly what we've delivered to you tonight. Together with Mr. Chapla, Dr. Keebler, and Mr. Maxon, and with the continued support of Mr. Leppish, Mr. Fudel, and Mr. Townsend, we worked tirelessly, making multiple trips to county offices in Harrisburg, hosting town halls, and keeping residents informed every step of the way. I am proud to say that our persistence paid off. The Leechburg Area School District finally achieved a permanent resolution to the STEB problem, one that ensures fairness for all property owners. Unfortunately, while this work was being done in good faith, an elected official in our own community chose not to assist, but instead to publicly disparage and attack the very people working to restore tax fairness. County tax records show a balance of outstanding property taxes on file for an elected borough official. When public figures criticize those solving systemic problems while personally failing to meet their own civic obligations, it undermines public trust and sends the wrong message about accountability and leadership. Public officials must lead by example. Those who hold public office and fail to meet their own tax responsibilities while criticizing others for addressing inequities demonstrate a serious breach of public trust. It sends a dangerous message. that accountability only applies to some, and that those in power are somehow exempt from the standards they impose on others. Beyond the ethics, this kind of behavior has a real, measurable consequences. Constant negativity, public attacks, and sensationalized press coverage discourage new families from moving into this district and deter small businesses from investing in our community. When the loudest voices are those tearing others down instead of building the community up, it hurts our property values, our enrollment, and our shared economic future. Our taxpayers and residents deserve better. They deserve leaders who act with integrity, fulfill their obligations, and work together to make Leechburg a place where fairness, respect, and responsibility are shared values, not political weapons. I want to thank Mr. Chapla, Dr. Keebler, Mr. Maxon, Mr. Lepish, Mr. Townsend, and Mr. Fudel for their faithful and intelligent support in bringing about a lasting, equitable solution to this long-standing taxation issue. Their professionalism and dedication reflect the very best of what public service should be. So thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Right there.
Meeting adjourned at 7:40, and we're going to go into a brief executive session.